In this lecture, we will spend a little bit of time looking at the date type fields and what you can do with them. We'll use our orders sheet from Superstore subset file, which I have already opened here. And we can see that in this source we have a couple of date type fields. We have the order date, and down here we have a ship date as well. Tableau can generally recognize a date type field in the source and will assign a number of default properties accordingly. By default, it will set any date type field to be a dimension and to be of discrete type. Okay, so let's see some dates in action. Let's drag the order date up into the rows. And you can see that Tableau has actually created a hierarchy for this field. By default, it will create a hierarchy for any of the date fields. So it allows us to drill from a year down to the quarter, month, and day. In our case, we have 4 levels, year, quarter, month, and day. But if this field actually had some time values as well, you could go to lower levels as well. You can go down to the hours and minutes and seconds. You can also see that each of the levels is actually a separate dimension, which means we can get rid of levels. So we can get rid of a quarter, for example, and a day, and we could just have years and months. And it also means that we can move things around. We can move month up into the column, for example, and have a cross table of years and months. With this, we can analyze data across discrete values of each of the parts of the date. So, for example, if I was to drag profit onto the marks and put into color, and let's maybe swap these two around. That looks better. We can see here that November, December generally are more profitable months in the year, and early in the year we're not doing so well. Now, if you wanted to use dates as continuous type field, it's pretty simple to change the field over. Remember, we can change it at source level by going to order date and convert to continuous, or we can also change it at the visualization level itself. To change in the visualization, we need to change the level that date is being displayed at, and we do that from a drop-down context menu. So instead of choosing one of the discrete levels, we choose one of the discrete levels, which is in the second part of the drop-down. Now, before we do that, I just want to show you a trend line against the order date, which is set to be a discrete type field. So let's get rid of the month, and we'll drag sales across. You can see this Tableau shows us a graph that there is a trend line. We can drill into it and expand it. So we can go from a year to a quarter to a month and day. Now this chart does show us a trend of total sales across time. It's got a nice little effect because we're actually still using profit in the color mark. So this chart is okay for trending as long as you keep all the levels in the chart. So let's see what happens if you remove some. So let's see if we get rid of the year or a quarter. It may as well get rid of the day just to illustrate a point. So in this case, we're just looking at the month and sales. And the chart appears as a trend line. However, the chart has lost its meaning. The sales values are totaled by month, and the trend from January to February doesn't quite make sense because each of the months includes total sales across 4 years. To do a proper trend, you need to plot the data against a continuous date. So if I was to switch the month to continuous value, we'll end up with a chart that actually shows a proper trend. So instead of a discrete month, we'll choose month as a continuous value, which means it's within a range of dates. So this chart now shows us the proper trend because it includes the context of a year, and it's from each of the years and each of the months within that year. So you can still drill up and down in this chart. Let's just put sales as a label so we can see some numbers and go drill into the weeks and even days. And we can go back up to years and quarters. The difference between this chart and the chart against discrete values is that the trend line is displayed as a continuous line and it's not segmented into discrete values. Now there are a couple other things that related to dates that you should be aware of. There are a few properties you can change at the source level by right-clicking on the source and going to Date Properties. Now in here we can change a couple of things. We can change the week start, specify the day that week starts in. Similar, we can actually specify the beginning of the financial or fiscal year. So in Australia, we're actually starting in July. And we can also change the date format. So automatic picks it up from your system settings, but you can actually specify any sort of date format in here. So if you're having difficulties with loading some of the values, some of the date values into your workbook from source system, this could be a place where you need to be checking.